What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Once again, I put a lot more time into this game and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of my thoughts with some of the stuff that's been going around with the game when it comes to if Game Freak is lazy. And I wanted to discuss this because I've seen this quite a bit on the internet, and trust me, this is not a Game Freak, Pokemon Company, Nintendo defense piece. Trust me, we're gonna get into what needs to change at the company. And if you haven't seen my previous impressions of the game, please make sure you check it out. We talk about some of the stuff wrong with it in there, and we will go over again here. But I wanted to talk about this because I do see this. Shout outs to my man RGT85, watched his video, and he essentially said they're lazy when it comes down to it. But after going on the Spawncast the other day, we have the weekly Spawncast over on the Spawn Wave channel, we actually talked to a developer who knows what he's doing on the Nintendo Switch, has developed quite a number of things, and MVG was discussing how he doesn't feel Game Freak is really this terrible or horrible developer or lazy or anything. And I didn't feel that way beforehand, but it was cool to get some first-hand, I would say, input on that side, especially with the Nintendo Switch. With all the different issues that have been popping up with this game online, people are just posting everything. It's always kind of hard to go through what people are maybe potentially manipulating compared to the actual glitches or problems in the game. And I've been playing the game now for double-digit hours. I played it all through the weekend like crazy. I'm kind of low-key addicted to it at this point, despite the issues. I haven't ran into any of that. Now, I have ran into some weird, like, mountain warping as I get closer or go away, but that's probably the biggest glitch that I've seen, or issue, more like graphical oddity, that I've seen so far. There was one time where when you catch a Pokemon or something, it kind of goes underground and you can kind of see like the bottom or whatever the case is, like looks weird. But outside of that, when it comes to it, haven't really ran into too much. There's also been some performance issues with the frame rate, some frame spikes where it kind of lags out real hard for like a second or so, but I haven't ran into any crashing or some of the crazy stuff that has happened online. Now, that doesn't mean it's not in the game. So this is one of the reasons why the Pokemon Company, Game Freak, they really need to make sure that they're working ASAP on a patch, because these issues should have already been fixed from the beginning. But that doesn't mean they can just say, okay, the game's out, it's selling, and therefore we don't need to fix the game or we don't need to patch it up. It could still definitely be there. I'm just giving you guys my own first-hand impressions of things. But the question is if Game Freak was lazy with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And I actually don't think so. And I'm going to go ahead and explain very much in detail why. Now, as someone on this channel, I've been playing RPGs now for 30 plus years. I have decades of RPG experience. I've seen super lazy RPGs. I've played the small budget ones that have done everything that they can to kind of make themselves better. I've played the highest quality of RPGs out there. I've played Final Fantasy. I've played Xenoblade. I've played Xenosaga. I've played everything in between single A or budget, indie, double A, triple A, the highest quality, everything. I've just played so many RPGs in my lifetime, and I know when a developer is kind of phoning it in with the content and features in the game, heck, even with some of the optimization and everything. And I feel that that is a big issue with Game Freak, which we will tackle in the future. But I think a bigger issue with them is the fact that they don't get enough time to actually create their ambition. And that's what I want to hone in on why they're not necessarily lazy. Because if you play this game, a lot of people are kind of looking online and seeing the issues and saying, oh, well, look at this, you know, without actually playing the game themselves or getting far into it. This is why there's a little bit of a divide online. You see some people saying, oh my gosh, this is like the greatest game in terms of Pokemon that I've played, but I'm dealing with the issues. Then other people that are saying, oh, well, this game just kind of sucks. And I completely understand that based off of the performance of the game and based off of certain things. But if you play it and you kind of go through, you see how dynamic the game is. There is a lot of layers. There's a lot of stuff to peel back on this. There's not really any other game on the market, even at this level. Temtem and Monster Hunter Stories 2 and some of the other monster battling games, Digimon Stories, Cyber Sleuth, none of them even really comes close to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in content, what you can do, the amount of monsters or things in the game. There's not really any other company that's even comparing to the content in there. And with this game, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I'm thinking to myself, as I go through, when I go through and I do like the Titan quests, and I do the other like treasure hunt, and I do like the Victory Road gym battles, and I see the vast amounts of space and things to do, and just the litany and variety of Pokemon, and even how like the raid battles work in the multiplayer, I'm thinking to myself, how did they get all of this done in like 2 years or so? Because you know they crunched their butts off, man. You know they crunched and crunched and crunched to get this game out, because this game is dynamic. There is a ton of things to do. There is a lot of layers, and it can be very fun to go through those. And like I said, I've been playing RPGs for decades at this point, and the amount of content in this game and how well it's executed with this 3 separate campaigns, and with how the combat works and the snappiness and the quality of life features, which is sometimes where RPGs can falter. Heck, it took Xenoblade many years to get all of the quality of life features right in a lot of their games. A lot of time you'd go through and just be like, man, they don't have this, they don't have this, they don't have this. It really took until Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition in 2020 and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 to really nail down a lot of those quality of life features. And I know that it takes a lot of time to get that in. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has that in abundance. Now, it's not perfect when it comes down to that. There's definitely some things that they could have done better, but from the map system to the marking to the destinations to how the rotation works to the boxes or the PC boxes, everything's right there for you, to how you can instantly heal and the tips and everything. They really packed this game not only full of content, but also full of ease of play and playability, to where it keeps you making just want to keep going and going. And I know that programming and putting all that stuff in with all the different Pokemon, the thousands of moves that are in the game, all of the new Pokemon that you have to model and render and animate. I mean, it's actually insane what they were able to do. What I'm guessing, based off of talking with MVG, the type of crunch that they were under to get this game out in the 2.5 years or so that they had to make it. Because like I said, I've played a lot of RPGs over the years, and there's not many, if any at all, that are able to compete in the monster battling space with the amount of depth this game has as I continue to play through. Now, obviously, with all the stuff that's in this game, it creates a huge issue, which everyone is talking about, and that is the performance of this. That is where Game Freak is severely lacking. Yes, I get it. Like, you have to do a lot of things. There is crunch, but that doesn't mean there can be performance issues. That doesn't mean that they can have the type of problems that they've been having. Some of the glitches are just absolutely insane. So they definitely need to shore that up. But like I stated, it's in the title and everything, something needs to change. But we are solutions oriented here on PlayerEssence, and I think that I can give a few ideas for them to change when it comes down to it. Now, we all know at the Pokemon Company, they want to get those games out, and I completely understand that, but I personally feel that giving them just a bit more time to get everything situated, to get some better graphics in there, to get better acclimated with what they're doing, will help them immensely. Yes, you have to have Pokemon every year. I get that, but I feel that there should be some side teams that can do remakes if you need to have a Pokemon game, and then give the main team making the next generation of Pokemon, give them a bit more time. Now, where is there a conflict of interest for the Pokemon Company with this? It all ties into the cards, the anime, the like merchandise, all of that stuff. And I completely get that. And there's going to have to be some really hard thinking at the Pokemon Company in terms of the quality of the game and what they want to do, and matching that up with the merchandise. That money will be there. I get it. Time is money, and I completely understand. But that money will be there when the game is ready. It's going to roll in. You can give them a bit of extra time to make sure that they get that done. Now, I also understand that they want to launch the big new games in the holiday season. So if you delay it to early next year or mid next year, that doesn't work for them either. So it's a really big, delicate balance of either we get this game out now at this point, or we wait probably a whole nother year till we get a November spot, because the Pokemon Company, it's always November. They have a high amount of children that are buying the game, Christmas presents, and that is a factor into this. So I understand that, but there needs to be a better way for them to get this done so they don't have the launch issues that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has. So I think that they're not lazy. This game is not lazy. As a big RPG fan that's playing, this game has more depth, more layers, more content than a number of RPGs on the market. And for them to get all of that in a true open world with everything in there and not have the game break, I guess, 10 times over in my own gameplay, that is a feat. That's accomplishment. Doesn't excuse all of the issues in there, but from what I've been playing, this game is just packed. And I'm thinking to myself, once again, goodness gracious, they got all this done in the years between Pokemon Sword and Shield and this game right here. That's definitely impressive. They're going there to work, but this game needs a bit more time in the oven. And going forward, they need to make sure that they actually do a bit of a better job in terms of this. Now, the good news is that they can take this base that they have with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and build upon it. Unfortunately, since the Nintendo Switch launch, they've been kind of doing different things, but they've got two mainline Pokemon games when it comes to a new generation on the Switch. They've got Pokemon Sword and Shield, which that game was a complete, first game for them when it comes to new generation, and they tried to do a little bit of the open world thing with the wild area, but it wasn't truly what they were looking to evolve the series into. And I don't really think much of Pokemon Sword and Shield made it into Scarlet and Violet, so it wasn't like they were completely building on top of it. It was more of taking, hey, we've got some experience doing 3D and now we can do this. But I think that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you can now take that base. That is the future of Pokemon games. After decades, we finally have that true open world game, which should have been from the beginning, right? When you think Pokemon, you probably think that it should be an open world game, but it didn't happen until now. At this point, Pokemon Legends Arceus is not the same thing, doesn't have as many Pokemon, completely different style, doesn't have multiplayer, nowhere near as complex. So while that game is something and it's there and it's mainline, it's not the new generation of Pokemon where you have to do so much when it comes to multiplayer, because that is a huge part into these games. So like I said, when you put everything together, multiplayer, single player, all the different content, the 3 different campaigns, everything they did with the Pokemon and everything, you can see that there's definitely effort and time being put in, but more needs to be done with this type of game if they want to make sure that they keep all of their fans happy going forward. But definitely not a lazy effort. Now, I think that going forward in the future, they take this base of what they have with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, they fix up everything, they add way more detail and graphics and just make the game better. So when you make the next generation on the next Nintendo Switch hardware, because I don't think there's going to be another new generation on the current Switch hardware. So when the next Switch hardware comes out and you have more power to work with, you have that base engine, or you have that base, I would say, experience with an open world game, you can build upon that so we don't have as many issues as we've had it. So we have better graphics and we have better performance, and the system can help out a bit more. But once again, I think it's one of those things to where Game Freak needs to learn from it. Obviously, fans need to say something as well. You know, there's been plenty of people talking, and I'm definitely not going to sit there and say people shouldn't. Heck, I've talked about it on Twitter and in my videos. So Game Freak absolutely needs to do better. But I feel that this is a good learning point and a jumping off point for Game Freak to go forward and make sure that this type of stuff doesn't happen now that they finally got the base of what Pokemon needs to be going forward when it comes to modern systems, because you can't use what you did before with those routes and everything on the DS. You just can't do that for a big console Pokemon game with how the Nintendo Switch hardware or what Nintendo's doing now at this point. You don't have that real true dedicated portable system where the graphics are just far weaker, right? People are expecting more. People are expecting what we see in a Xenoblade or what we see in a Zelda or what we see in some of these other games. And while you might not be able to get to that point, you need to at least get close when it comes down to it, or at least you need to make sure that you have really good performance if you can't reach it at a graphical level. So I'm really hoping that this is a learning point for them and they can take what they have here and really build on top of it. So in the next 3 years or so, we get something that truly lives up to what we think the Pokemon Company can do. But so far right now with this game, this is probably my favorite Pokemon game since the DS days. I don't think I've had this much fun with a single player Pokemon game ever, really. Pokemon Legends Arceus was the last time that I had this much fun with anything if you compare it to any of the previous Pokemon games, because I was always a multiplayer guy. I wasn't really huge into the single player that Pokemon has, so Pokemon Legends Arceus is my favorite single player of all time, but I think that this game, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, is actually beating out Legends in the single player aspect, considering all the different things that you could do with the true open world and the 3 separate campaigns. So we'll see how it goes in the future. But what do you guys think about this when it comes to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Are you guys enjoying the game? Are you not enjoying it? Are you waiting on a patch? What's going on with it? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.